Yeah. So, but I asked Brian. I just wanted to make sure before we talk about it. You've seen Frank the first episode of the TV series,
I've watched the whole series.
the whole series. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen episode one. I
Okay.
plan on reviewing each individual episode.
Nice.
So if y'all want, we can talk about the first episode, and we can do full spoilers about the first episode from here now.
Okay.
So if you have not watched episode one, this is your time to back out and come back later.
Now, you've just watched episode 1, so I don't give anything away. Episode 1 ends where?
The ghoul, Walter Goggins' character shows up and kills those three guys.
That's right. The 3 guys go to res the ghoul, and
Well, not res them,
he shows them what's what.
They're using Radaway to keep them sedated and in a stasis is what they're doing. That's
Correct.
what those bags are. That's Radaway, which is it's anti-radiation, and ghouls need their radiation. They thrive in radiation, right? So
Correct.
giving them Radaway will basically make them slumber. So it's like a stasis for ghouls.
Oh, okay.
You learned something new already, didn't you?
Yeah, right. So a lot of people have been talking about how good the TV series is, and that's what kind of piqued my interest into diving into this series and franchise. I really, really enjoyed it, and what I was telling Brian earlier, and it's something that the game in the first hour has really done well, is the contrast of like the 50s and 60s vibes that they have, along with the advanced technology that it has as well. So it says it's year 77 or something shit like that.
That's correct. 2077.
But a lot of it looks like it's in the 1950s. It threw me off, to be completely honest with you. And I had to Google it, and it was like, what fucking year does this shit take place?
October
like
23rd, 2077.
And I was like, all right, well, this is pretty fucking cool. And the TV, just in episode 1 at least, has really nailed that to me, especially with the score and the music choices that they have. It's one of my favorite things about the first episode in general.
Now, we'll tell you this, as a Fallout buff, and Frank will tell you this as well, there was one error in the first episode that I didn't like and he didn't like, and it was with the music. Johnny Cash was never in any Fallout game that there was. His music was not in there. So when they played the Johnny Cash song, that was not to lore or to games or to anything else. I liked the song. It worked great, and it didn't take away from anything, okay? So I'm not saying that because of that. It was just one of the little tidbits of that was never in any games.
Right.
You know?
I was curious about that because I was like, I don't know. I love Johnny Cash. By all means, I dig him.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. It felt like the song choices were completely different than the ones that we had before that.
Correct. And like I said, that was the only thing to me that stood out. And that, to me, it stood out like a sore thumb because we both played it. We know what music is supposed to be, you know?
I enjoyed the music because it had the 50s and 50s vibe to it. It was mainly 50s vibe. There was some 60s in there, Johnny Cash, etc., Ella Fitzgerald, all that stuff. But I didn't like the fact that they didn't rely on the good old time Fallout tunes. You know what I mean? Like The World on Fire. That's like I was expecting to hear that because that is quintessential to when you load into Fallout. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to light a spark in your heart. That's like Fallout's theme song right there. And when they didn't use that, I was kind of like, oh, man. But like you guys are saying, the soundtrack fit. It was a different time. They're trying to go. They weren't in the wasteland, so there wasn't need for that darkness because that song's kind of borderline darkish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could see the upbeatness and the Americana. It's all Americana there. You know what I mean? Screw the commies. America's the best. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? That's just what Fallout. It's overindulged on every level, and they nailed it.
Absolutely. And
I really got attached
inside the vault. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say I really got attached to the characters. Any of these characters like actual people in the games, or are they just created for the TV show?
Lucy
No,
could be
because
any
this
Vault
is on the
Dweller.
West Coast. So the only game that takes place on the West Coast and not really California, even though you can kind of see California from a vantage point on one area of New Vegas. If you go up the 15 freeway to the New California Republic checkpoint, which is out of your way. But no, so these characters are new, but they did nail down the Vault-Tec masquerade is how I'll label it for you right now. Okay,
Okay.
it's a masquerade, so just take it for a grain of salt. You're in for a treat.
Oh yeah, and then some.
Oh, yeah. And it solves the number one question any hardcore Fallout fan has ever had is who dropped the bomb first? Was it Chinese?
By the end of the
was it the
series-
Americans? Was it the Russians? Who dropped the bombs?
You're gonna.
You'll find out by the end of the series. And yeah, it's awesome because it was a community conspiracy theory since God, Fallout 3 days. You know what I mean? I didn't really follow the community in Fallout 1, Fallout 2 days because there's such a long difference between Fallout 2 to Fallout 3. You're talking, I think, like 10 or 13 years, okay? Because they were originally made by Interplay, and Interplay was defunct, and Bethesda just stumbled across the rights for it through some legal maneuvering. But yeah, it's oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah, what's her name? Lucy. I like how the episode kind of divides it up into different characters that they're introducing. I'm not sure how I feel about this Maximus guy just yet. Lucy, 100%. I'm down with that story. I think they did a good job of kind of setting her up. And
Okie dokie.
yeah, okie dokie. I was like, I mean, it's cheesy, but I like it. You know,
It's Americana. It's the 50s and 60s-esque vibe they have going on. Okie dokie, everything's innocent, right? I mean,
And that's the Vault
look at
vibe.
Look at the Pip boy. He's like the perfect Americana boy, poster boy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's just so yeah.
And Matt, just to give you a little bit of a timeline too, he had said there was a big difference. Fallout 2 released in December of 1998, and Fallout 3 released in 2008.
Yeah, so 10
wow.
years, yeah.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
So
on
in between
Steam just
that
to make
was-
sure, yeah.
Nothing.
they went defunct.
Well, they
somewhere in
had some.
between
They
there.
had some like forays into some expansions, like Fallout Tactics, a couple other like small little things, but nothing really grasped on. And I didn't really play Fallout Tactics or anything like that.
No, I didn't either.
But just to know that it was in first/third person with Fallout 3 in 2008, I immediately bought it. Immediately signed up for the pre-sale, was standing outside of GameStop at 12 a.m. on release date to get my freaking box version of Fallout 3.
We talked about that earlier.
Got the
too.
Prima, I got the Prima strategy guide with it. You know what I mean? That was like, God, it was like this thick. You know what I mean? And I went through every single page and I did everything in Fallout 3. And I think I got like 60 to 70 hours of playthrough. And it was on Games for Windows Live. I remember that delivery service. That's defunct now, so all my save and all my achievements are gone. But no, circling back to the characters. Lucy McLean, who I'm reading here, it's Ella Purnell. Absolutely perfect choice.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. She did an excellent job with the attitude, her outlook, what is expected of her. She is your quintessential vault dweller, oblivious to everything else but her little world.
Yeah. I will say this as a side note too. For as well as she played that, vocally was amazing. You would never guess by watching her that she was British and has that thick, heavy British accent. Because you will never guess that by watching her play this role at all. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
I watched the interview with her on somewhere and it's like, holy crap, you know?
Yeah.
I did not know. Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, and just, I like the little weird stuff, Matt. So
I love how they kind of paint her as like I don't want to say a badass, but she kind of just says, I'm really good at this kind of shit. You know, when she kind of goes over like her stats at the very beginning of the episode.
Exactly. It's weird
And-
the way you see that, ain't it?
Yes, I enjoyed that. But then she gets into this whole where they're trying to marry her off, and then she turns into that I guess that typical quintessential 50s, 60s female for the male, all that kind of stuff, right? And then as soon as shit goes sideways, she's starting to cap people left and right. I'm like, absolutely, I'm here for that shit. How she can just flip the switch.
The fight scene in the cornfield to me was just amazing. Let me ask
you guys a question. When did you guys know they were Raiders?
When they opened the door.
Okay.
There was it was very early. I didn't know who they were. I just knew they weren't good.
They weren't vault dwellers, right? You could tell they weren't vault
dwellers.
Yeah.
I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
Until later on, but
yeah. As soon as I saw tattoos, soon as I saw tattoos and scars, like big scars, I told my wife, I'm like, these are Raiders, because everything was just a little off about them. They weren't excited. They weren't happy-go-lucky like the other vault dwellers. They were absolutely more concerned about the food than anything else. If you notice, like they're all just like drooling over the cakes and the food. Okay, so that was very well done on the writing team's part, the director, and also the people that were playing from, I think it was Vault 32 that they were supposed to come from. So very, very good job on all of them.
Yeah, I didn't know who they were by any means, but I was like, something's not right about them.
You see that right in the beginning. Like Frank said, the tattoos, the scars. And, this is a above 18 rated show, right? We don't have to worry about sugarcoating things and stuff like that.
No.
When he wiped himself off on the curtains, was whenever it really stuck out right there. Something's not right here. And you see her pull out the Pit Boy, and actual function of the Pit Boy in game, okay? Mm-hmm. Turns it over and starts reading the rads on him, and he's got radiation, meaning he's been outside.
Yep.
You know? That's whenever and you see it hit the fan then, but she handled herself pretty damn well against him, I got to say. You know?
Yeah. Oh, and the stim pack?
Oh, that was well done too.
Oh my God. She's bleeding and she's about to pass out. She hits a stim pack and she just goes, and then she's just boom. She's back in the action. Yep. That was perfect tie into that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way they incorporated some of the, I don't want to say like Fallout game features, because I don't obviously know all those, but like just typical things that happen in games, like the health pack and whatnot. I think they did that pretty well, and giving it that gamey vibe.
Oh yeah, like I said, dude, I just finished the Halo series, okay, and going from the Halo series into this, I was exceptionally concerned, okay? Because to me, the Halo series was a letdown. I understand it's supposed to be alternative universe, yada, 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 okay? To me, that's just lazy writing, but we won't get into that, okay? I was worried on how they was going to adapt into this, what their adaptation would be into this. And I was so surprised by the end of it, and so happy at the end of the first episode, because in my opinion, they really did. They nailed it. You know, they hit it just what they needed to. They came out just perfect with it, man. They really did, you know, and I think it was well done. I think it hit all the points it needed to. It showed their quintessential 50s, absolute picturesque, perfect life, to include their projectors that was projecting the sunsets, and it was supposed to be the Nebraska sun, I think, on the walls and everything, and all of this. And then you see the please stand by, which when you play 3 and all of them, when you load the game, that's the first thing you see is the please stand by, the old test screen, I think is what it's called, but it was a picture test screen and all that. So that was just, everything they hit like that was just awesome. Watching the Raiders with the pipe guns, okay, the pipe weapons and stuff like that.
The pipe rifles, yep.
Okay, and all the makeshift blunt weapons and things like that. It was just, they took off and they ran with it and they did it perfectly. I can't think of much I would want to change. Like I said, I might have complained about the music earlier, but that was not really a complaint, just kind of a side note on it more than anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
A little nitpick.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? Look, there's always going to be something we can nitpick on something. Okay? It's just the way we are. Okay? It's a gamer mentality. But the way they took off with that, and you're going to see in subsequent episodes, they just build on it. And they keep building this story up. The three main characters, which you know already who they are, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have the Ghoul, you have Maximus, and you have Lucy. Those are going to be your three biggest characters throughout it. And I think they casted them exceptionally well. I think all three of them play their parts magnificently. Okay? And I think you're in for a
Walter
huge
Goggins fan.
I think you're in for a huge surprise as you keep going through these episodes. I really do. I think you're in for a treat, bud.
I'm excited. I was like, I'm reviewing them. I really just want to click to the next episode, but I have to wait, and it's such a pain in the ass to do that shit sometimes.
Yeah.
First world
but
problems, I guess.
you were trying to touch on Maximus. I'll say it. The way they did. So this isn't the classical brotherhood that you know from Fallout 3 or Fallout 4.
No,
okay,
it's
that's
not.
that's the East Coast brotherhood where they're more the East Coast, I guess, brotherhood is more about helping. They still go around and reclaim technology and all that, but they're not as ruthless. They can be ruthless, of course. It's the Brotherhood of Steel. But they're about trying to build back America, is the vibe you get from Fallout 3, Fallout 4. Even though there's some sinister stuff in the echelons. But if you actually play and go through their quests in the games, you start to realize, like, they're actually there to protect. That's their primary goal. On this one, on the show, they're kind of grade A assholes. they're just
Yep.
You saw, but that's a deeper dive into the culture of the Brotherhood. Because you never got to see part of the hazing. Because I mean, as you progress into the Brotherhood line, you're like the savior. You know what I mean? Like you're like the golden child. Whereas with Maximus, he's basically starting shoveling shit. Is what he's starting with. That's exactly how you meet him. You know what I mean? He's shoveling a latrine is what he's doing. Getting his ass kicked, of course. Wanting to be more, wanting to partake in more, but having to put up with the bureaucracy, which the Brotherhood has so much bureaucracy in the games, and it's such a headache. They go flippy floppy, and especially if you go along their quest line. And you get quite a few options to go against them, but usually in the games, if you side with the main quest, no matter what you do, like for instance, I had the super mutant companion in Fallout 3, and like the super mutants are absolutely enemies with the Brotherhood, but like they didn't bat an eye on it with it, so that's kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and 4 you get some weird dialogue and stuff like that. Because in 4 you also have the synths, which are the synthetic humans, if you will. Okay, and the Brotherhood historically is against anything that's not human. Okay, so they're against the synths, they're against the ghouls, they're against the super mutants, anything like that.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha. But yeah, man, I'm very excited to finish the series, and I'm going to use this as a review clip, so I can go ahead and watch episode 2 tomorrow. So thank y'all.
there you go, man.
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Exactly. So here in the FPS world, we call that a collab.
Well, moving on to our final segment. I know, unfortunately, Frank came at the very end. I'm 100% down for you coming back on if you ever feel like you want to, especially as we get, I guess, as I get further into the Fallout game and the series. I'm definitely down for talking more and voicing my very, very beginner level opinions about it.
But, hey, one thing about having different people at different levels playing the game, you know what I mean, is you'll probably remind us of a whole bunch of stuff that we had forgotten about. Because, like, truthfully, like when I play Fallout 3 and I go through Fallout 3 New Vegas, I skip a lot of the dialogue because I've been there, done that, and I want to get into like more of the side quests and more of the faction stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's where the juicy stuff is for me. Because I've already played through the main story. I know what happens to the Dweller and the Lone Wanderer and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So you playing through the games and all that, yeah, I look forward to bouncing stuff off of you. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah, man.
I'll thank Mr. Costa over here for hooking us all up.
Anytime. I'm always
Don't
here
give him
to
too
help,
much
you know.
things. His head will get bigger than it already is. So
Can't do too much.
Hey,
I
that
don't
just
know if my headset's going to keep fitting.
That just means he has more room for a beard.
yes.